And I was 17, and I was very, very different from the person that you see before you now. My mother, who was a catwalk model back in the 70s, dines out on stories, and she used to come into my bedroom and say to me, Natasha, for God's sake, will you stop reading and put some lip gloss on and go out and get drunk and snog boys? And I used to be like, no, Mother, I'm reading The Tempest, go away. And she said, why can't you rebel, for God's sake? And I said, I am. It was very clear. And that was me when I was 17, and I really didn't care how I looked. I didn't care at all. You know, I didn't blow dry my hair. You know, I wore the same kind of baggy jumper every day, and you know, I didn't groom. I didn't care. You know, and my teachers thought I was going to be the next Prime Minister. Just thought I'd throw that in. So, what I was like, because I was quite mouthy then. I know it's hard to believe, but I was quite mouthy then. And so, yeah, so that was me, age 17. And then one day, and this is why the story that was read about bulimia resonated with me so much, because I remember very distinctly one day, my friend came round. I was about to go to university, and she came round, and she said to me, let's go and get some fish and chips. And this really weird thing happened in my brain, where one half of me went, oh, you know, brilliant, fish and chips, yeah, yum. And the other half of me was really, really frightened, because I knew I was going to have to eat these fish and chips, and it was a scary situation, and I didn't want to eat them, because I thought that they were going to make me fat. And this is someone who's never really had that relationship with food before, who's never really thought about food in that way before. Suddenly, food had this kind of moral significance for me. You know, don't eat food good, eat food bad. That was how I felt. So we went and we got these fish and chips, and I thought, I can't say I don't want them because that'd be weird. So, you know, I ate them, and I found myself eating in a way that I'd never really eaten before. I was just sort of shoving these chips in, not really tasting them. And then after I'd eaten them, I thought, right, I can't have this. You know, I've eaten too much. I've got to somehow reverse this. So I decided I was going to make myself sick. And I don't know who writes Hollyoaks. This is relevant. But I can tell you that that person has never had bulimia. The amount of times I've watched Hollyoaks and some girl has come out the loo and gone, I've just made myself sick, and that's perfect, and their hair's fishing around like this. And I'm like, no, that's not how it happens. So I remember looking at myself in the mirror after I'd made myself sick, and I've got all mascara streaming down my face, and I'm sweaty and snotty and disgusting, and I was like, oh God, that was gross. I'm never ever doing that again. And I quite distinctly remember thinking, never doing that again. And then I found myself doing it the next day, and the next day, the next day. And at some point, I couldn't tell you when exactly, but at some point it had me. It could have been that very first day, but it reached a stage where I wanted to stop, and I couldn't. And it became this compulsion to be sick. I went to my GP when I was 19. And I said, I'm making myself sick. It was about twice a day at this point. I said, I'm making myself sick, and I can't concentrate, I can't focus, and I think that I need help. And my GP weighed me, and he said, well, you're not underweight, so, you know, you'll probably be all right. And I remember, you know, thinking about those images that you see in the magazines, the girls in their underwear, we've all seen them. You know, those skeletal girls that are suffering from anorexia, and maybe thinking, I'm doing them a disservice. You know, maybe I don't have an eating disorder. Maybe I've got no right to say I've got an eating disorder. You know, I'm doing this, but maybe everyone does it. Maybe it's okay. So it continued. Fast forward to whatever year it was, 2007, and I was 26. I was living in Cambridge. And I'm making myself sick probably about 7 or 8 times a day. I'm taking hundreds of laxatives. I'm in the gym 4 hours a day. I've got a hole in the roof of my mouth, a hole in my stomach lining, teeth are crumbling from the inside out, my hair's falling out. I'm unemployed or unemployable. I did have a job, but I kept being signed off for 2 weeks by my doctor because I had depression. And just on huge doses of antidepressants. I've got no friends really because I'm a moody bitch. And you know, and even my family are a bit like, oh, you know, I don't know what Natasha's going to come out with next. And my mum actually told me at this point in time that she was scared of me. She didn't know what I was going to do or what I was going to say next. So the point of me me telling you that, and it is difficult for me to tell you that, is that I went from this girl who had all the potential in the world, who was going to be the next Prime Minister, to a girl who was laying on the floor of her flat next to a bag of her own vomit, thinking about ways to kill herself, and all that potential had gone. And I think we have this idea in our minds of the kind of girl that gets an eating disorder, and it's a girl that's vacuous and obsessed with her looks and a bit stupid. Well, that girl was me, and I can tell you that that's not true. So I was there one day, and I was laying on the floor of my flat next to a bag of vomit, because I was sharing with two other people, and I couldn't be in the bathroom for long periods of time, so I came up with this genius plan that I was going to be sick in plastic bags. And I was listening to this, now don't let's put you off, because it's a brilliant album, but I was listening to this album by David Bowie, called Diamond Dogs. You should really go buy it, download it. Yeah, it's an album called Diamond Dogs, and it's really dark. It's really, really dark, and there's a particular song on there called Sweet Thing that he wrote about a time when he was really going through it, and he was suicidal, and he just did things like just randomly drove off a bridge in Berlin. Anyway, this is David Bowie's story now, not mine. So, and I remember listening to the lyrics and thinking, right, well, you know, if David Bowie can come back from when he wrote this song and be a rock god, then I can come back from where I am. I can do this. I'm going to get help. I'm not going to listen to that GP. I'm going to sort myself out. I'm going to take control of my health. I'm going to do something. So I ended up booking myself into a clinic where they practice something called NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming. And neuro-linguistic programming isn't for everyone. It's really helpful for some people, not so helpful for other people. But what it really taught me, which I really think is the thing that's sort of relevant to everyone in this room, is about the power of belief. And that's negative belief as well as positive beliefs. You can have this tiny little seed of belief about ourselves that can just grow and grow and grow and become something really, really destructive. Something that, you know, we can gamble our lives on. And half the time we don't even know what that belief is. When we sit down and think about it, you know how you've got the little voice in your mind? And for a lot of us, that's really negative. It's telling us you can't do that, you're not good enough, you're not pretty enough, you're not as good as her, you won't pass your driving test, you'll never amount to anything, you're not as clever as your brother. And NLP is all about taking that negative voice and turning it into a positive voice. Because imagine if your best friend came to you and went, oh, I feel really crap today, and I'm rubbish, and I'll never amount to anything. And you go, stop talking out your ass, you're brilliant, I love you, you're amazing, you're beautiful. And we can do that for our best friend, but we can't do that for ourselves. So NLP is about having a little best friend in your brain. And that's the great thing about the mind, is that you can change. You can change how you feel about yourself. You don't have to reconcile yourself to feeling bad about yourself forever. So I narrowed it down to this belief that God only knows where it came from, but I had this belief that I was a nuisance, that I was annoying. I know it's so hard to believe. And I was annoying, and that, you know, and that people didn't like me, and that they didn't want to be with me, and that they were only being with me out of a sense of obligation, and that really they'd be better off if I wasn't around. And that's what I believed to the very core of my being, and that's why I had my eating disorder. Just from that belief I didn't even know existed. And then one day I went, oh yeah, that's what it was. And then I thought, well, you know, logically, I know that's bollocks, actually. So I changed it. But my point about body gossip and my point about gossip school is this: that if I had someone come into my school and encourage me to write a story about my body, and to sit down and really think about how I felt about myself and how that related to how I felt about my body, I would have isolated that belief so much earlier. And maybe I wouldn't have had to have gone down that path. And so that's why I'm here, that's why I support body gossip, and that's why I hope that you will too. Thank you.